So let's talk a little bit about how you might light your animation for your demo reel. And again, we're not getting into the technical side of lighting here. This is more a simple guide to a general approach to lighting, to making the kind of choices that will make your demo reel look good and not get too tied up in complexity. So here's an image of Max, which is one of the many excellent free rigs available on the web for download, and this is very nicely lit. This is the kind of thing that you want to be aiming for your demo reel. In other words, as far as the textures and sets are concerned, it's incredibly simple. This is probably just two planes, simple lamberts. Looks like there's some sort of sky-like background attached to this plane here, and Max is colored just with a simple lambert, and it's lit very simply with simple shadows. And it looks like there's a bit of color in that shadow there as well, and there may be a bit of ambient occlusion in there. But when you look at this character, you don't think, okay, here's somebody who wants a job at lighting. You're thinking this is an animator, but it's an animator who knows at least how to do lighting. It knows that it's an animator who isn't afraid of the technical side of lighting, but can take their shot through to completion. And that's what we want. We want basically to show that you can light your work so that you have some knowledge of Maya around the animation controls. In other words, that you can control textures, you can control lights, and you can do a batch render. So what you want for the basic ingredients are a simple background. You could download a set, if you like, from TurboSquid or one of the many places where you can get free sets. You might want a bit of ambient occlusion. That's when we get this little sort of shadowing, scattering around the feet. You want to turn shadows on, and you want soft muted colors. Nothing that screams at you, just simple colors in good taste. Here's an example of Monty looking, again, a similar idea. Very, very simple textures, simple lighting, simple shadows, simple background and set, and we've got ambient occlusion turned on, which I'll come to in a minute. But what about grey shade, I hear you say? If you make a play blast from your desktop, you're going to have a grey shade render, and that's absolutely fine, but it's just a bit dull. What Maya does when you do a desktop render or a play blast is Maya gives you just the default lighting that comes with Maya when you turn it on. And it's just not terribly interesting to look at, and we can do better than this. And in general, you want to know just enough about lighting in order to make your animation look good. What you don't want to do is go crazy with it. Here, this is Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and this is wonderful work, really incredible work that they did here. But you don't want to get carried away with this stuff. You don't want to get carried away with textures and lighting. Once you start to make things look realistic, you have to go very, very far indeed in order to make it look good. What we're looking for is a kind of cartoony look. Here's a nice example of some lighting done by one of my ex-students, Richard Jeffrey, who is a superbly talented animator, and he's taken a free set here from TurboSquid, and he's just put simple lamberts on it. You can see he's just got a light grey here, a slightly darker grey here. He's put his lights quite near the horizon, so it's giving it a kind of evening look, a kind of golden hour look, and he's got very simple texturing on this Andy character here. Again, the Andy character is a free rig that you can download from the web. He's not going for realism. He's not trying to texture the ground. You don't want to be getting into textured paving stones or anything like that, because as soon as you do that, you're going to start to be judged on your textures and on your lighting. But a setup like this says, I'm technically competent to handle simple lighting setups, but in the end, what I want you to look at is the animation. So what you want to be able to do is to master a basic three-point lighting setup, and there's a separate theory video which talks about three-point lighting, which is well worth having a look at. But just to summarize it, if you've got your camera here pointing at the character, your key light will be off to the left, your fill light will be off to the right, and your backlight picking up specular highlights will be behind the character. So when you create your key light, you obviously name it just like you name everything in Maya. You put it slightly to the left of the camera, try an intensity of 1, and try giving it a warm sort of yellow golden hue. When you create your second light, your fill light, name that your fill light. Again, you always want to name things in the outliner. Put it to the right of the camera and give it an intensity of 0.4 or 0.5. Typically, the key fill ratio is 2 to 1. Usually your key light is twice as intense as your fill light. Turn on the shadows and add a backlight or rim light if you feel like it. You can also try using ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion is a way of getting diffuse shadows. Now you will have to assign a particular shader to your object, and the shader you want to look for in Maya is called the Mia_material_x_passes. Mia material x passes. And if you go into that shader in the attribute editor, you can scroll down to ambient occlusion, and that will give you this kind of diffuse shadows look. It's sort of like the look it gives you is kind of soft shadowing, almost like a cloudy day. So almost it gives you a kind of soft shadowy feel. It's really, really nice for what we need to do. Here's another example of something lit by ambient occlusion. Here are some recommended settings. Set samples to 64, set distance to 10, and then adjust the shadow color. So what you're looking for is something along these lines. You can have other shadows as well as ambient occlusion. You can have it turned on with regular shadows if you like. But this is the kind of thing we're looking for. Something simple, clean, not complex, just good enough to make your animation look nice when it's finally lit. So good luck with that and have fun with it. Personally, I really like lighting stuff. I think it's really nice to take animation to the next level and make it look pretty and attractive.